In this video, we're going to take a look at a purple ink by KWZ Gummiberry. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the purple ink playlist, so if you wanted to see more purples, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, no spread. We get light bits of shading that show up in the stub, some nice dark spots that show themselves in the extra fine, but nothing in the medium that is full dark all the way. Now, the extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub, and the stub is only a tad lighter than the medium. Extra fine took 15 seconds to dry while the medium took 19. The scrubby of the extra fine shows a little color variation. We definitely get it there, where the medium shows none, and I really don't see it there. The smear test says you might be able to recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Pilot Custom 912 with a music nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, minor ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, no shading in any of the writing, and while the medium and the stub are the same tone, the extra fine is a bit lighter than the both of them. The extra fine took 22 seconds to dry, and the medium only took 29. Scrubby for both are showing no color variation. We're not getting shading in the writing, and the smear test you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this truly is a purple that pushes its way up and really just gathers at the top. Now, the one on the right that's let dry for 10 minutes, it looks exactly the same, showing that we're not going to expect any kind of resistance from this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, no shading in the stub or in the medium, but in the extra fine we do get a peppering of darker spots that occurs. The extra fine is lighter than the medium, and lighter than the stub and medium are the same tone. The extra fine took 17 seconds to dry, while the medium took 22. The scrubby for both give no color variation, but we do get a peppering of dark spots that occurs in the extra fine. The smear test says you probably could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink could be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it really starts to have some blowout in the lowercase h. Not a surprise considering the chromatography and how much of that ink moved, but I would not use this in a note-taking situation if I needed to go back and highlight. Water is reactivating and lifting most all of this ink off the page. We see a lot of the white of the paper there, and it only took water to get it out of my pen. Now the pen flush, it does everything that water does, nothing more. 1/3 bleach solution destroys it, but you're not going to need it to get it out of your pen. The next writing sample is done on life paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, no spread, no shading in the stub. We get some shading, some darker spots that occurs in the extra fine, which is lighter than the stub. Now the medium's a bit darker than the stub, but it even shows some lighter spots within its writing, which is very nice. So it has shading as well. The extra fine took 15 seconds to dry, while the medium took 19. Scrubby for both show a tiny bit, the tiniest bit of color variation, but we do see it show up in the writing. And the smear test, you stand a chance for that maybe recover if you smear while you're writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's Gummiberry has a viscosity of 2.08, putting it just outside of normal as a little wet. The next writing sample is done on Levenger paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, no shading in any of the writing on this paper. Now the extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub, and the medium's the same tone as the stub. The extra fine took 10 seconds to dry, while the medium only took 13. Scrubby for both are showing, well, the extra fine does show some color variation, but it's not there. The medium shows none, and there's none. And a smear test you probably could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's Gummiberry has an average dry time of 21 seconds, putting it right on the edge, but normal. The last writing sample is done on Franklin Christoph paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, no shading for the stub, that is way dark. No shading for the medium, that is way dark. No shading for the stub, that's quite a bit lighter than the stub. We have no shading for the extra fine, that's a lot lighter than the stub. The extra fine took 9 seconds to dry, while the medium took 11. The scrubby for both gave us no color variation, and there is none in the writing at all. And the smear test says you have a maybe to recover if you smear while you're writing. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Gummiberry, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to go with a black ink to not draw any attention away from this. I went with Private Reserve's Velvet Black. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of KWZ's Gummiberry? Just seeing the writing, I can see why this is such a popular color. It has nice shading spots on a really cool tone. I see a bottle of this emptying quickly. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I think you get your nicest tone with a lot of that peppering of shading that you can get from a medium flow fine or medium nib. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Pilot's Mixable Green.